Alright, so this is where we left off last time. Um, I did do a couple modifications to this. If you look at the jawline here, I've kind of rounded this a little bit better. Your goal when you create this is that if I went to my insert edge loops and I click here along the lip, I can create a loop that goes all the way around the lip. Okay. Otherwise, what would happen is I click one like this and it goes down. Okay, I didn't want that. So the way that I got this to happen is just by rerouting some of these lines. So I went to the multi-cut tool, and let's just pretend that I wanted to reroute this line to go that way. Okay, so I just draw that rerouting there and there. Okay, now I can't leave this triangle here, so what I have to do is reroute this line. So I can just take this and then draw this all the way back to the bottom of the dragon here. Okay, I'm just going to stop it there just so you can see the little area. But now we've kind of rerouted how this thing is set up. So that now if I were to go through and insert an edge loop here, you'll see that now that reroutes and goes like that. Okay. I'm just going to undo because I don't want that to be routed like that. So that's nicely rerouted there. I've modified some of these lines just to kind of keep the spacing the way I want it. This guy here could probably be moved down a touch. Our goal at this point is that we should get the points kind of evenly spaced out. If you look at the spacing here on the jaw, it's a bit too much. So I need to insert an edge loop or 2 or 3. And I'm just trying to evenly space these things apart. Undo that one. There we go, something like that. And I'm going to add one here and just move this down a bit. Okay, so that should work. Alright, so there's my dragon at this stage. I'm going to delete this side. I don't need to delete that side of the mouth because it was already kind of set up for us. Not set up for us, but set up. I'm going to then take this half of the dragon, make sure my pivot is at the center, so I hold down D and V and middle click until it lines up there. Good. And then I can go to mesh and I could say mirror geometry. And I'm going in the negative X direction. I can just look at the manipulator here. I mirror it. And then I'm just going to go through and see if it merged anything. I can see right here it merged these points. So I'm just going to go to my mirror and change my merge threshold to 0.001 so it doesn't merge those points. Okay. Now a couple of these didn't merge, and that's fine. I can adjust that. I'm just grab these 2 points. Come on. And then say edit mesh, merge components. Or edit mesh, merge to center. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to go down that line and just merging all of these ones that didn't merge when they should have. Okay, and it's basically just something came away from the center, and that's why it didn't work. Okay, and I'm grabbing 2 of these at a time. If I grab more, it's going to merge all of them together. I don't want that. Alright, and the way I can check this is just by visually looking at it and seeing, yep, there definitely is a crack there. Or I can hit this and hit 3, and that usually brings it out a bit more. Okay. Also, this line is a little bit thicker than that line now. I could also try doing edit mesh merge components and just verifying that this value here is not going to start merging this other stuff. Okay. Now I know in this model that was the only area that I had an issue with, is that one spot. I like where that point's going. Let me move that point out. There we go. Is that one spot? Everything else is good. So instead of me going through and merging all that stuff, what I can do is I've merged those 2, which I shouldn't have done. Should do that before. Make do with it. Here's how I can lay this out: is I just take these two, and I hit Control Delete, and then I can go to my vertex here, and just scoot that down. Then I can go to my multi-cut tool, click a point here, click a point there, and I've connected those. I'll do the same thing here. This, that, Control Delete, back to my multi-cut, and I'm just drawing a line straight across here. Okay, we have to have quads everywhere. We can't have any triangles. ZBrush will not allow us to bring triangles in. Okay, oops, and you see there's like some weird spot right there. Somehow it connected these points. So I'm just going to delete those faces and then use my append to polygon tool to patch that hole up. Just clicking on the opposite edges and hitting enter. Okay, so now I'm going to delete the history on him. I'm going to run him through cleanup, so mesh, cleanup. Faces with more than 4 sides, cleanup. And you'll see that he just gets destroyed. Why is that? Sometimes you just get an error. You just get like a funky surface. So I'm just going to duplicate him, move this guy over, delete that guy, and then move that guy back. Okay, so now let's try that again. Mesh cleanup. Let me make sure I reset this. There we go. So I did faces with more than 4 sides. I get nothing highlighted, which is what I want. Okay. If I did have one with more than 4 sides, it would show. I'll just do that so you can see it. It would highlight this, and it would actually like add division so that we don't have 4 sides. Okay, so the best thing to do is undo it and try to rework out those points so you don't have 4 sides there. Okay, I'm also going to check out non-manifold geometry, and it's giving me some non-manifold stuff happening here. And I think what happened there is, yeah, see, they just kind of like crossed over. So let me just step back a few pages. Oops. Let me just reopen my dragon. Delete that. And I'm just going to re-merge these again. So this time I'm going to be a little bit more careful in how I join these together. Okay. So I have all of these points here. I'm going to use X and just grid snap them all. Make sure my pivot's at the center. There we go. Go to Mesh, Mirror Cut, or Mirror Geometry, negative X. And you'll see that it does have that little issue right there, so I'll just make it 0.01 instead of 0.001. And I think I'm good. I think my eye, yeah, you see what happened before is it merged all these, and I didn't want those to merge. Alright, so that should be good. Delete history. Let's try the mesh cleanup again. Okay, I get no highlighting, which means I've done a wonderful job, so that's cool. Alright, so now that we have this set up, I can save as. There we go. And I'm going to run Roadkill. So I've installed Roadkill. I showed you how to do that in class. And I'm going to go to Live Unwrap. And I need to unwrap this guy. Okay, so I'm going to go to Edge Mode, Select, and then I'm just going to start breaking him up. Okay, so I want to keep some pieces kind of together just so it makes sense. Right now he's laid out, but it doesn't look nice. We should have him looking like squares, kind of like he has up here. but it should be all over. So I'm going to double click here. See, it selects it all the way around. And I'm going to hit C for cut. I'm going to double click here. C for cut. That's cool. I'm going to double click on the neck. C for cut. And right down in the front of him, the back. I'm going to go to the back. I'll just double click the middle here. There we go. That gives me all the way down the center, and I'll cut that. Okay. So now you can see the difference that we have. Before he was very non-checkerboardy, and now he's perfectly checkerboardy. Okay. I'll even split this so that that looks a little bit nicer as well. Okay. Now some of these areas I could probably, you know, sew up. So like here, if I'm looking in this, if I grab these down there and I hit W for weld, you'll see that I still get nice checkerboards on those. Okay, and it keeps it as one piece, which is nice. The jaw here, I might be able to do that as well. So let me grab this, and I select one just so I can see where it's at. Look at that, and see I forgot to add the divisions on this when I did it. So I'm just going to hit exit. Exit. There we go. And this is the first. He's gone. It's a magic trick. Let me reopen him up. There he is. Okay. So let me add those divisions. There we go. I'm just going to modify a couple of these too, just to get that to look a little bit nicer. Okay, so now I'll bring him back into Roadkill after we delete the history, and I'm also going to unparent him. And delete that group. That shouldn't have had anything to do with it, but that was a funky error that it gave me. So now we just cut it again. And this is what's great about Roadkill, is it's so easy to use. Just select mode, split it down the middle, cut. Looks like a rug. You'll see just doing that even, you know, you're pretty close to having it laid out. Cut this, cut that, cut at the neck. Great. Okay, squares everywhere, that's what we want. I'm just going to verify this. That's this. Right there. Okay, I can cut the underside too. And if I hold Control, I can actually deselect those ones there, because I don't want to do those or these. Just this like weird patch right there I think would benefit from having that cut. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now some of these I could actually just, I might be able to sew together. I think it's probably these ones I just cut. So it didn't actually do much, I don't think. Yeah, that's good. And then here's these pieces here. You know, they're pretty close to each other, so I'm just going to weld these together. There we go. I don't want to weld all of them, I just wanted to weld those so they were less pieces. Alright, so that looks pretty nice. Okay, the checkerboards are pretty standard across the board. This is that, so I don't want to touch that. Okay, so that's good. So I just go to File, Exit. And now if I grab my guy and I go to Texture Editor, you'll see they're all laid out. Okay. Now in order for us to get the most out of our texture for this guy, we have to stretch these out. Okay. So what I want to do is I grab all the UVs and I scale it until the biggest piece would fit in there. Okay, so right about here. This guy's not fitting in there right now, but I can rotate him and he will fit. Alright, So this one piece fits inside of this box, but I want to get these other pieces to also fit inside of a box. Not this one, but another one. So I'm going to go up to View, Grid Option Box. I'm going to say that I want my length and width to be 5 should be good. And apply. I also want to see my subdivision line, so I'll apply that. No, not that. My tiles I want to see. There we go. So now I have these tiles here, and what those tiles are is a way for me to grab these other pieces and get those to fit. So I'm just going to start grabbing pieces. I'll go to Select Shell. There we go, just so I can separate it. And I'm just going to see, I might even be able to fit all of these on one. I don't think so. Like I can fit those there, but it's kind of tight. So I'll just put this here and put this guy here. There we go. Okay. So just so we can see what these pieces are, this is the neck right there. This is the eye. This is the lower jaw, and that's the upper jaw. So you can see how these are kind of spaced out nice and neat. Okay. Close that, close that. Good, good, good. We have this here. We don't need to lay that out because ZBrush would actually do that for us. Same thing with the upper. We could do it inside Maya. Okay, I'll go to my edge select, and maybe just down the center. Just cutting it, and you'll see we still have some pretty nice squares laid out here. All right, so that works for that. Oops. I hit the X, which doesn't actually save my changes. So I have to actually hit cut, and then exit. Good. And go here, cut, exit, there we go. Okay, so the teeth, obviously, you know, what do you do with the teeth? ZBrush will take care of those. Okay, so you don't have to worry about those guys. Alright, so now let's go into the outliner, and we still have our stuff organized. Nerd sphere is our one eye. I'm going to duplicate it, group it, and negative scale it in the X direction. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Ungroup. Okay. And then I'm going to delete this extra camera. I don't know where that came from. I'm going to call this one Dragon. Call this I. I2. And there we go. Okay, so now let's see what happens if we save this, and then we go to bring this into ZBrush. Okay, so we're going to save our scene as, and we're saving it as an ASCII file, Maya ASCII. Save as, yes. We're going to open up ZBrush, and we're using 4R6 right now. Alright, so we're in ZBrush. Let's go to Lightbox to hide that. And we're going to go to Import. And you'll see down here we have MA as one of our options, and that's why we chose MA as our item. So we go to the desktop, to the D drive, to here, to 2520, to scenes somewhere. There it is. Alright, so we grab this file, and if I click, you'll see that it brought in, if I click and drag, it brought in a tooth. And I hit T, and I can spin around that one tooth. Now this is like a random thing where it might be my station alone out of all the stations in the entire world, but I seem to have some issues sometimes bringing in stuff from Maya. So it's good to see the process for this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to export each one of these pieces out as a separate piece of geometry. Okay. I'm also going to take my eyes, and I need to convert them into polygons. Okay, that was one thing that, you know, I was hoping we would get the error. We didn't get the error. But these are NURBs. I want these to be polygons. So modify, convert NURBs to polygons, option box, quads, general, per span, tessellate. Okay. Then I can delete the history on those, and then delete the eyes. All right. And sometimes just doing something like that will unlock the madness that is that going from one to the other. So let me reload this. There he is. All right. So let's go here and export selection as Dragon export from Maya. Then we'll go back to ZBrush, import, Dragon export from Maya, and you'll see that the dragon came in. Now you'll also notice that he's like squished, okay? Well, he's remembering his translates inside of Maya. So I'm going to go back to Maya, and you'll see that I scaled up that original cube in order to get him there. If I reset all these to 1, you'll see that he actually is that funky shape. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything in here, modify, freeze transform. Okay? I'm going to go to the option box and just do my scale. I don't need to do the translates and rotates. Okay? So I'll grab the dragon again, export him out as Dragon export from Maya. Yes. Go back to here, import. Switch to the tool and then import it again. Let's export it again. Dragon export from Maya. I'm going to put a underscore 001 at the end. May not like that I have the same name already imported in here. Alright, it's still like that. I didn't delete history again. And actually, let me delete all my history while we're at it. There we go. There we go. So you see, just by setting that up, now we've got the dragon in our scene at the correct proportions. Okay? So we're just going to do that same thing for our other pieces. So I'm going to grab the gums, grab both of them at the same time. I'm going to export those out as gums. Export from Maya. And you'll see that it brought in one gum. It didn't bring in the other gum. All right. So another thing that I can do, this is another way to kind of work around having to import all these things individually, is I can just do this. I marquee everything, and I say mesh combine. I'll name this dragon. I delete history. I save my file. Okay. Because it's a hassle to have to do importing all these individual pieces. So I'm going to import my new file, 0102. And you'll see I get all the pieces. There he is. Okay. So now that works great. It allowed me to import all the pieces. But as I start going through this, and I start doing stuff like if I switch to the move tool, and I start dragging this, you'll see I'm dragging the eye too. I don't want to drag the eye. So every single one of these items is basically like locked together right now. So we want to unlock that. So I'm going to go down here. I've hit T already, so I could have manipulated that obviously. I'm going to come down here to polygroups, and I'm going to say auto groups. And what this is going to do is it's going to separate all of our objects. So now if I come into here and I go to polyframe, you'll see that this is now colored in a way that's separating each one of my objects. Well, that other eye didn't want to come in. That's no big deal. The other eye doesn't matter because we're just going to use this to draw on anyway. Okay. So now that I have this, what I can do is separate these into individual layers. Okay. So I'm going to Control Shift click on my dragon, and you'll see that he becomes his own layer or his own selection here. Okay. So if I go to Subtools, I can say Split, and I can say Split Hidden. Okay. So now if we look, I have one layer that is just the eyeballs, the gums, and the teeth. And then I have another layer that's just my dragon. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of this, just to be able to separate it. So I'm going to Control Shift click on the gums. Let me spin this around. Okay. Now the dragon's still there. That's okay because he's not even on this layer. I can turn him off just so I can not see him. And I'm going to say Split Hidden again. Okay. So that just pulled that bottom jaw off of there. So I'm going to Control Shift click this top gum. Split Hidden from that. I'm going to Control Shift click. Let's see where we're at. This eyeball, Split Hidden. Control Shift click that one, Split Hidden. Okay. Now the teeth I'm actually going to leave on as one group here. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the teeth. Let me hide these other pieces so we can make this easier. I'm going to hold down Control and marquee all of these. Okay, that puts a mask on all of those. Then I can just come down to my poly group and just say group visible. There we go. And I Control click and drag off, and there it is. Alright, so now that's one group here. Go back to my subtools. I have a group for this eye, a group or a layer for that eye. I have my gums here, my gums there, and I have my dragon. Alright, now I want to be able to put these kind of in similar things. So like the eyes I want on one layer. So if I just click on the top one, I can just go down here to merge and just say, oops, click that one, and just say merge down. And I'll hit OK. So now the eyes are on one. So now we do the same thing for the jaw area. Okay, so I need to switch to this layer. Make sure it's turned on. Come on. And then we just go down to merge down, hit OK, and now the two, not jaw, but the two gums are on the same layer. Alright, so now I'm going to go here to my dragon. I'm going to say rename. I'm going to call this Dragon Body. Oops. I'm going to call this Gums. Jump down to the wrong one. I'm going to click on the Dragon Body and rename that to Dragon Body. I'm going to click on the eyes and rename eyes. The eyes we're not really going to do anything with. They're just there. And then these here, whoops, somehow I got a eyeball on this one. Let's go back here. Yeah, that eyeball is on this layer. So I'm going to Control Shift click that eyeball, go back to split. There we go. And then click that guy again, go back to merge. I think I'm doing something on my keyboard. It keeps moving down. There we go. So now the eyes are on one. One of my keys is probably stuck. Alright, so now we can rename this to teeth. Beautiful. And now we can turn everything back on. Okay. So now the way that these layers work is that as we're working on them, It is moving. As we're working on this, we focus on one layer at a time, and then we can, start to modify things. So right now I'm on the teeth layer, so if I'm in the move brush, I can drag the teeth and make them, gangly looking if I wanted to. Okay, so I should think about this in the way that makes the most sense. In that, the dragon is going to be the biggest feature, so I want to edit the dragon first, and then I can come in and edit the teeth, and then I can edit the gums. Okay, and the eyes, the eyeballs themselves, we're not going to touch. All right. So now, because my computer is doing this weird thing where I click up here, and it's manually going down to the next layer automatically, my keyboard must be messed up. I'm just going to take my dragon and just move him down. So I'm going to say, select up, select down, move down. Okay. I'm going to click the dragon. I'm going to say move this stuff down. There you go. So now my dragon's on the bottom. It doesn't matter what order these are in for what we're doing right now, so I can just leave it the way it is. But now the dragon's always going to be on the bottom. Alright, so I can also turn my polyframes off. I don't need to see that anymore. Alright, so my first goal in this with the dragon is first let's save. So File, Save As. Dragon Startup 001. And what I want to do is just get the shape of it. Okay, so a lot of times we're going to start with the move tool and a big brush. Okay, and I hit S to scale that up. Oops. Come on. There we go. And then we can just start moving some of these points to get it lined up. Now I don't want to just start moving them because as I move one side, it's not moving the other. So I want to make sure I go to Transform and Activate Symmetry. And in my case, it's the X direction is going to be the opposite side. If it's not, then you just come up and pick whichever direction you're dealing with. Okay? Most likely it's going to be X or Z. So then as I modify this, it's modifying the other side. So I'm just tweaking this to get that shape. Now I want to take and create a little gullet. Okay, so you can see I'm just pulling some points off. Now as I move around here, if I hold shift, it actually snaps into different increments. So that's a handy thing. I wish actually Maya had something like that. So you can see I'm just kind of pulling this out. Shrink my brush size if I need to, just so I can pull on that one point. And you'll see the other side is the same, so that's good. If I pull these points out also, just a touch. Yours is going to be different, so you have to kind of look at, what shape and style you want yours to be and figure out the best way to attack it. Come on. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get the right angle. There we go. Oops, just had it. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to spin this around a little bit. Make my brush a bit bigger. So I have to pull out that jaw a little bit more, make it a little bit more pronounced. Okay, if it's hard to see what we're dealing with, you can turn that frame or the wireframe back on. Where's my wireframe? It's probably further down. Oh no, that's it. That's my wireframe right there. Duh. There we go. Okay, so we're not going to be able to get full resolution in this. We don't want to go too crazy and do something like that. Okay, I want to keep it, pretty much like I'm just flowing this. If I need an area smoothed out, I can hold down Shift and smooth it out. But for right now, like I said, we're just kind of getting the points in position to give our guy the shape that we want him to have. There Okay, so at this point I'm probably good to go through and start adding some divisions. So I'm going to hit Control D. That'll add my first level. And I can go in there and say, you know what, this is a little bit blocky. Let me just hold down Shift and smooth some of this out. It's obviously way too much, so I'm going to hit Undo. Take my Z intensity down. Hold Shift and then hit my Z intensity down. That'll smooth some of that out. Okay. Maybe I'm just going to tap some of this area right here just to kind of smooth some of this out. Now, if I decided I want to add, like horns or something, I could pull some horn nubs out. There we go. I'll hit Control D again. Control D again. There we go. So I'm just adding some more divisions. And you'll see that some of my areas are getting a little bit tight. So I'm going to go in with the smooth and just start smoothing some of this out. You'll see that I'm getting this weird coloration because I have this button clicked. I'm going to check that button off. There we go. And I'm also going to turn my polyframe off. I don't need to see that. Okay. If I'm smoothing this out and it's just not smoothing to my liking, I can hit Shift D, go down a level, and try to smooth out that level. So you see how that smooths out a lot nicer now. Okay. See some areas here that I just want to smooth out before I go too much in detail. And just a touch, a touch bit blocky, a touch of blockiness, however you want to phrase that. So I just want to smooth those points out. Come on. There we go. And that symmetry doesn't matter. I can paint on either side, and it'll still be symmetrical. There we go. So that's looking good so far. So now I'm going to add some more shape to this. I'm going to go to the brush, go to my clay buildup tool, and I'm just going to add some more shape right here. Okay. So you can see the definition I'm adding right there. Then I hold down Shift and just kind of smooth it out. I'm going to take that intensity down a touch. Okay, I can hold Alt and add a little bit of dimpling right there. I'm thinking about the muscle structure, thinking about the bones. Let me lower this a lot. Okay, you always want to look at it from other angles because sometimes you just can't see it too good. Smooth this nose out a bit. I have to be careful because there's divisions underneath this. I don't want to ruin those. Okay, so you can see I'm getting a nice dragony type nose on here. Okay, so I'm just going through and just sculpting, what I think that, we should have inside here. I know he would have, like this jugular-like vein coming down like this. There we go. And it's a little bit too much. It looks like he has like a snake in his throat. So we'll adjust that. We just kind of go through and just add these. I'm just emphasizing this gullet area. I'll switch it to the move tool. Just pull some of these points down. Looks like we're getting a little bit wonky on the points. So I just want to try to maintain that straight shape. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a sag too. You can see how I'm just kind of being very liberal in how I pull this out. Okay, because I can just go back and smooth it out, and ZBrush will take care of that transition. Smooth these areas out too. Again, remember, if you smooth it and it's not doing what you want, you can take the Z intensity up, or you can hit Shift D, go back a level, and then hit D to get back to that smoother level. There we go. So there's something in there now. I want this to be a little bit more separated, so I'm going to go back with my clay buildup and just push this in some. And then touch it up a little bit to smooth it out some. There we go. Add a little bit of thickness in here. And use reference as you're doing these things. I'm kind of winging it as I go, but it definitely helps to look at some of the other things that have those, like not that guy, lizard. There you go. So here's a lizard with some sort of neck flappy type thing. There's a dog with one. Okay, so you can get an idea of what they look like and modify it. Obviously, this is a dragon, so we have some license for creativity on this. All right, so we're just going to go through and just using the clay buildup, smoothing things out, and then just adding some detail to this. Okay, this is just kind of giving him some, muscles in the back of him. And then I'm smoothing those out. So that way I'm left with some of that definition, but not too much. So there's gonna have a couple little horns right here. If I wanted them bigger and more like pronounced, I would just model that inside Maya and then bring that, bring that into the scene. All right, and go into the eye area and just add some detail in there. You can see it looks pretty flat, so I'm just puffing this out some. And then go through and just smooth it out. And do the same thing on the bottom here. I just gotta be careful I don't do something like that and start pulling out stuff that's in the back of this. Okay, so we're adding some detail here. It's good. We can change this to the damn standard brush. And we could add like crease lines. I may need to go another level deep, Control D. I think my intensity is just too much. I'm just pushing down too hard. There we go. Alright. So now we're at this level of 506,000 divisions. And then we can just start going through and just start modifying what it looks like. I'm using the damn standard still. And I have this at set to pretty low, so this is like an intensity of 5. If you're using a tablet, obviously you can just press lighter. But now I can go through and create wrinkles and lines. Okay, this is kind of like the skin detail. I'm not going too much more as far as adding detail to this, but I definitely could if I went to this and I made this a bit bigger. Oops. This is your undo bar, by the way. If you accidentally click that, I could hold Alt, and I could add like a ridge coming up on top of him. Okay, I can add one or a couple down his back. Use this as a way to kind of soften some of this, or add a little more emphasis to this area here. Take it down a touch. I'll even add some neck flaps to him. If he has this kind of neck, he would be bending it often, so he would have these like lines that would go across. And this is just a good brush, just kind of adding some, weathering type lines to a character. Let's smooth out this bottom jaw a touch. These points sticking out, so I'm just going to attempt to push them in. I can always do this in, shrink my resolution down to the lowest and push it in. Okay, be careful I don't grab something else on accident. There we go. Another point sticking out. We'll just, again, go to the move tool, really tiny draw size here, and I can just push it in. Or pull the other ones out. There we go. Good. Alright, so I'm just going in with the brushes and just kind of adding some detail to them now. Maybe I'll add a little emphasis around here, a little bit more intensity. Actually, I'm going to use the clay, PCB. Go. And I'm going to smooth it out again. Control D, Control D. So I'm at about 8 million divisions. I'm going to go with my damn standard. Take this intensity up some. Just cut right into it. Okay, so you can see just adding some extra points and playing around with the brushes, you can really add some really cool details to this that we wouldn't be able to add very easily inside Maya. Okay, now we're at 8 million divisions. So now we can start to go through and add even more stuff. I'm going to switch to my standard brush. I'm going to switch to the drag rectangle, and under alpha, I'm going to pick this. There we go, this one here. Okay. Now I'm going to take the intensity down, and the way it works is I just click and drag, and there is like this pattern on him now. Alright, maybe I want a little bit more intensity, so I'm going to take the intensity up to maybe 13. There we go. Okay, so now I can just go through and just drag these patterns to create this scaly texture on top of my dragon. Alright, so I'm going to go over the entire dragon with this. And I'm going to vary the size. When it gets close to the mouth, I would think you would have smaller scales. Okay, and then as we get to these bigger areas, like on top of the nose, that's when these would be, a bit bigger. I'm varying it, and that's the cool thing about this. Don't try to use this with like an actual painting brush, because it looks ridiculous using freehand. That doesn't look like good size. Even spray, it can give you a nice texture, but you just got to be aware of what you're doing. There we go. Okay. This other one just gives you a lot more stuff. Here's drag dot, where you just drag it and then let go, and that's where it goes. And then there's dots, which is do 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 do, like that. There's also options. If we click here, here's the option. So for dots, we have the mouse average. So if I change this to 1, you'll see that we have less in here than we did before. If I switch this to freehand or to draw rect, we get scale and we get that. Okay, and for something like this, you really want to be just placing them manually in position. Okay, so it's the last stage of this lecture that I'm going to go through is just going through and adding these drag dots to it. Okay, now it has been saving often. You'll see that the pop-up every once in a while will come up there. There's also a quick save right here, so it just saves your project right to that folder. So you can click that as well. So the last stage of this is just going through and adding this detail. In the next video, we'll go through adding detail to the teeth and gums, and then starting to paint this a little bit more. I've shown an example of how to paint the stuff. Obviously, you can paint it however you want or sculpt it however you want, as long as it looks appropriate. I wouldn't want to have just like some random shapes inside him that really don't make sense as far as muscle or design or any of that goes. Okay. You could also download different scales. This is just the default one that I'm using. There's other ones if you go to ZBrush's Pixelogic's website, or you go to, there's a bunch of user ones, or you can go in Photoshop and make your own alpha brush. Okay. So that's where we're leaving this one off, and we'll see you again.